When a sliver of cold moonlight in the deep night of ancient Greece slanted across the moss-covered stone steps leading to the site of Orestes' trial, the air was steeped in the faint scent of wormwood and the bittersweet crispness of nocturnal mist. Inside an inner chamber shrouded by heavy dark curtains, where the distant murmur of the river Lethe could be heard, a woman with eyes reflecting a profound sense of universal desolation quietly opened her empty hands. She was not brandishing the terrifying whip of vengeance. Instead, she used her inner imaging, sharpened by years of observing sin, to ruminate on the philosophical metaphors of causality. She was Heronias, an intellectual sentinel who chose restraint at the peak of anger, exiling herself to the role of judgment for millennia. The genesis of Heronias' life held none of the splendor typical of the Olympian gods. Instead, it was a dark gray foundation woven from the instinct for revenge and ancient curses within the blood-stained folds of Gaia. Born as the wrath of the earth, a deity destined to enforce moral order, she inherited a microcosm that was ruthlessly cold, governed by hallowed contracts and the complex gambits of bloodlines. Beneath rock walls reddened by phosphorus fires, she learned to use her gaze to perceive the essential structures of fate lurking behind every vanishing point. This relentless pursuit of existential truth became the first incurable fold in her psyche, and the only armor that would guard her reality in a world of chaos. If her early vengeance was the tempering of her will, then her decision to cast the deciding vote in the trial of Orestes for matricide was the practical crucible that pushed Heronias' aesthetics of restraint to its zenith. She overthrew the prevailing blind violence of the era, resolutely transforming her scorching fury into an ultimate intellectual debate, replacing endless bloodshed with prolonged rational calculation. At that moment, Heronias was the most sober and solitary artisan of the Mediterranean. She accepted every trial from Athena or Apollo with silence. This radical focus rendered her like a marble bell tower, solitary and soaring, yet indestructible. The summit of power in the eyes of the wise is often manifested as the penetration of truth. Heronias gradually realized that when she finally accepted the title of Eumenides, the kindly ones, following the trial, she obtained not just an altar, but a nihility that saw through the rise and fall of all things. This transition, returning from executioner to watcher, was fraught with intellectual struggle, yet it endowed her with a cold, almost translucent peace. She remarked in her final resonance, "I once believed I was building a home, now I find I am merely searching for a point of convergence within the scarred fissures of memory, where the soul no longer falls." This expansive clarity became her hardest armor in the end. The final season of Heronias was spent in a state of profound solemnity and a silence illuminated by the radiance of a sage. It was the eve of dawn as the gods gradually faded, and the rains of the underworld fell without a sound, washing the stone steps into a translucent, solemn gray. She closed her eyes, tracing a final arc of completion across her chest with hands that had held 10,000 scepters and turned 10,000 scrolls. She left behind no vast temple riches, only the scorched benevolent wisdom that still glows after 2 millennia. Her departure was like a magnificent concerto entering its final decrescendo, marking the official curtain call of the era of classical ideals in a steady resonant echo. The story of Heronias thus draws to a slow close amidst the fading whispers of the tides of causality. She was never an opportunist who sought vengeance for fame, she was merely a weary soul who steadfastly refused to compromise with mediocrity. Inner tranquility is your only true and eternal refuge. Just as she did during the coldest winter nights of the abyss, guarding a flickering candle and searching for a fulcrum of existence through the void. Please believe that in every person's life, there is a tribunal of their own, a private space for dialogue with a self that requires no outward explanation. May Heronias' serenity and vastness become the softest feather in your dreams, carrying you to the farthest, most tranquil shore of the soul. Good night, and may sweet dreams be with you.